Hey guys, thanks for watching.
Welcome back. Today is engine day. First thing we're gonna be doing is I'm probably gonna reinstall the oil pump, which I do have right here. I think everything was fine with that. So we'll get that thrown back in, and I have the oil pan gasket that I think we gotta clean up the bottom. I may have started to take the old gasket off. I think I have that majority of the way off. I'll double check that. And I probably have to, I do want to clean up the oil pan a little bit. Not that I really have to, but I want to get, there's some junk in there, so we don't want that going through the engine, and I need to clean up this side. So we'll work on that, get that cleaned up, and then reinstall that. Number two, what we're going to be doing is hopefully trying to get everything reinstalled with this head, as we finally have the other valve parts that we needed. So we'll try and get everything installed here and get everything fixed up with that. Hopefully all the valves and everything seat properly. I do have a valve lapping tool, but really hoping that works instead of having to take it to a machine shop. So we'll see what happens there. And once the head is mounted, then the rockers, everything can, you know, go back in. We can torque everything down. Still debating if I want to clean those a little bit. But then everything's going to start to come back together pretty quick once the head is on the engine. So we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to start on the bottom, and first thing, probably install that oil pump. And if you've seen the last video or you missed the last video, check that out, because we started working on the rear end here and got the majority of everything buttoned up on the rear end, put in new gauges, and we're trying to figure something out with the fenders, which I think I may have come up with something, doing like plates or plate steel underneath, and then just coming out and around, doing like a T-shape type thing, and then drilling holes in it and bolting it fast elsewhere. I'll have to see how that works, and I didn't dive super deep into it. So, but that's where we stand with this for right now. I still have to get the 3-point on the, or the cylinder off the 3-point here, but it's coming, it's taking shape, it's coming together. So it looks like I have the majority of the gasket cleaned off on this side, but I still need to get over on this side because it's not cleaned off of that yet. So, not a huge deal. Everything's torqued in here with the crank. We buttoned that up a long time ago. So, should be good there. And then we can also reinstall the steering, the bolster, or whatever you call it. Oil pump is in, tightened, it's good there. I cleaned all the gasket off of everything over there, cleaned it off the oil pan, and the oil pan is draining, dripping into the bucket to get the remaining oil that was in there. I do want to clean the bottom, that's pretty bad too. So what I started to do is I jumped over to the head, and I have one exhaust valve in. I lapped the valve, had some valve grinding compound, just so it seated pretty good. Put everything together. We have our valve seal in there, which it's the umbrella seals is what we're using. And got the new keepers, new spring. And I double checked with a flashlight on the other side and looked in here just to make sure everything was sealed properly. And it is, nothing's coming through there. So that's a plus. Next two are actually gonna be intake, and then next two after that are exhaust, so on and so forth. So we'll keep rolling down the line here and get this thing assembled. And you can kind of see, if the camera picks it up, you can kind of see what it does to the valve. It looks like a groove, but it's not. It kind of just puts a mating surface on there now, so you put these in here, everything mates together, so it should work pretty good. A little junk on there. That down through there like that, and then I'll flip it over and I'll put some pressure on it with my finger. So for instance, if I can do this without dropping or breaking anything, you look in here with a flashlight. Sometimes you can even see gaps without even pushing on it, but once you push on it just very lightly, it closes that gap up. So the spring tension on there is going to actually take that up pretty well, if there is any. This is definitely a slow going process right now. I had to lap this intake valve quite a lot in order to get it to seal fully. But it's looking good. And the bottom side. Shiny. The head is finally done. Some of these I had to valve lap more than others, but at the end of the day, they're all sealing, everything's sealed, and we got a good mating between the valve and the valve seat. So huge plus there. I'm gonna clean this up on the bottom a little bit because of having to flip it over. We got a little bit of junk on it here and there, like right there's some junk. So I'll clean this up. But at that point, we're gonna be able to throw this thing back on the tractor. I'm gonna get the gasket thrown on here, and then we'll throw the head. We might have to clean some parts. I'm not 100% sure on that. Should go this way. Make sure all the holes and everything line up properly, and they do. Should be good. Now, it's obviously not 100% lined up yet, but let me just say how excited I'm getting, because this engine's coming together, and it's kind of getting to the point where it's getting real, because we're getting closer and closer. It's nice to see all new parts and everything in here. Yeah, it's coming alive. And just to give you an overview of what this engine has received this far, we obviously did new sleeves, new rod bearings, new pistons, pins, the whole, the whole works. Coming up to the head, new valves, all new valves across, new springs, we got new valve seals, and the keepers, I reused the keepers and everything, but we did get new, or sorry, I got new keepers, but we reused the rotators and all that, just cleaned everything up. So Nice new parts. Ground the seats, did all that. So we're ready to torque this thing down. So before anything, I want to clean this entire rocker assembly. And rather than just take everything apart and scatter it around, we're just going to take everything apart and put it in the order that it was. That way each, not that it really would make a difference, but that way each thing goes back to the same valve of where it was before. Again, there's adjustments on everything, so it really probably wouldn't matter, but these obviously matter because they have the dowels sticking out of the bottom. But we're just gonna make sure everything stays the same. But I don't want to put this back together being all gunked up like this. I mean, there's a thick slime, sludgy film on these. So why put that back in a nice new clean engine? So I'll try and get all these tore apart, get everything disassembled here, cleaned up, put back together. Because in order to torque down the head, we need the rocker assembly installed. I'm slowly making progress on cleaning everything. It's cleaning up pretty good for the most part compared to what it looks like. So not too bad. It's definitely tedious and definitely time consuming. Things are really starting to come alive here. Everything cleaned up very, very nice. I'm really impressed with how well, you know, the push rod's cleaned up, the whole rocker assembly cleaned up, everything cleaned up really nice. The head is officially fastened. Everything's torqued it according to our manual in the proper directions, diagonals. And I'm definitely happy with how it's looking now. I do have to adjust, since we didn't obviously take out any of the, you know, the camshaft, the crank, any of that stuff. Everything should still be in time, but we're gonna have to check, obviously, our valve lash and our valve clearances because of the fact, you know, that's all changed since we lapped valves and all that stuff. So we'll have to do that. The next thing I'm gonna do, and before I even jump into that, I did clean the outside of the drain pan off. You know, obviously this isn't perfect. You know, it's not pristine, but I'm not too worried about that. It was just covered in oil. There was a lot of missing paint. So we threw a couple, like 2 coats of paint on that just to make sure there's no bare metal or anything. Got all the oil off. So that looks good. The thing that I'm gonna do now is I think what I'm gonna do is probably replace the water pump here, and it's not that hard to, I think it's like 4 bolts, 3 or 4 bolts, something like that, to just pop that off, and we'll just throw a new one on there. I don't have it yet, but we'll at least pop it off, and we can probably at least see in there then too and see how much junk is in there. See if this little pulley trick will work. I think think it did. It did. And there's the water pump. Definitely gummed up in there. Doesn't look terrible. You can see the impeller in there turning. But it's a smart idea while everything's apart. And with that, I'm gonna call it a night. We're finally getting somewhere. I hope you guys are enjoying. Hope you're enjoying this tractor slowly come back to life. I'm starting to get excited because we're getting close. There's still a lot to do. We're a heck of a lot closer than we were about 2-3 weeks ago. It's coming along, and it's coming along nice. If you've missed any of the past videos where we're working on this, the teardown, or if you just want to go back and watch them again, by all means, go ahead. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Thanks for watching. It's much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one.